Well, round 19 of the EFL Championship has been and gone as we're in this busy Christmas period. It was a week full of shocks and surprises, but none more so than Ipswich Town versus Coventry City. There's been some huge results across the course of the Championship this week. We're going to cover all of them and look ahead to round 20, the midweek fixtures for the Championship, and we're going to see what is going to go down this week. Now, obviously, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. But let's dive into it. Now, starting off with round 19, Middlesbrough battered Hull City 4-1. Middlesbrough have certainly hit a spark over the course of the last couple of weeks with the introduction of Kim Hellberg. He was brilliant up against Derby County as they came back from 1-0 down to win that one. They've obviously gone on to beat Hull City, and it's a tremendous result for them. Now, Leicester City absolutely battered Derby County at Pride Park Stadium. They were 3-0 up after 25 minutes, and ultimately after that, they literally just dropped off the ball. Now, Ipswich Town absolutely dominated Coventry City. A 3-0 victory for Ipswich puts them back on the path to promotion. But Sheffield United winning 4-0 against Stoke City. It's a massive surprise for some, but for me, we knew Sheffield United would be back. You can let me know your thoughts on that down below. Now we head into round 20, where there's some huge fixtures coming up this week as Coventry City take on Preston, Derby County take on Millwall, Bristol City and Leicester go head to head. But what is your pick for the weekend? There's some absolutely massive games, and we're going to start off with looking at Blackburn versus Oxford, which is obviously going to be a massive game. Obviously, two teams who probably aren't necessarily where they want to be in the division, but are certainly pushing on and getting better as the season progresses. But it's one of those for me where a lot of work still needs to be done for both sides. Obviously, if we look at the insights for both teams, Blackburn only have 5 goals in their last 5. They haven't kept a clean sheet in 5, but they haven't drawn to Oxford in their last 5 games. Oxford are very much in the same situation. 5 goals in their last 5, haven't kept a clean sheet in 9, and De Kersmacher is their most creative player. Now, if we do look at the most recent results, it hasn't quite gone the way that both teams would want. Obviously, Blackburn, 2 defeats, 2 draws and a victory, and that is exactly the same for Oxford United. Now, we have to talk about Blackburn Rovers. They've had another postponement over the course of the weekend up against Sheffield Wednesday. I believe they were leading 1-0 at the time, which is going to lead to another rescheduled full 90 minutes. And I think Blackburn need to get in trouble here, because you cannot be in the Championship having problems with your pitch the way they are, especially when there's teams, 20-30 minutes down the road, suffering with the same rain that are still able to play divisions below. I think it's very, very disappointing. Now, obviously, as we look at the league table for this game, Blackburn 19th, Oxford 21st. There's only 2 points separating the two sides, and obviously Oxford just outside of those relegation places. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes. I do have Blackburn taking the victory on this one. Now, I've got Blackburn 1, Oxford United 0. Now, as we head into the next one, it's Charlton Athletic versus Middlesbrough. Obviously, a 7:45 kickoff at Charlton. It's going to be a very, very interesting game. Middlesbrough have been very, very good over the course of the last couple of weeks. I think, obviously, replacing Rob Elliott took a little bit of time. Rob Edwards, not Rob Elliott. My apologies. It took a little bit of time, but they got the job done, and they've got a really good manager in, and I think they looked really good against Derby County for the most part. However, I do still believe that Derby County should have at least taken a point out of that game. They were absolutely dominant at the weekend, and I think we've got to be really honest about this. Middlesbrough are going to be a problem in this division. Now, over the course of the last 5 games, Charlton only have 3 goals in their last 5. They've lost their last 4 games, and it's not looking great for Nathan Jones. I said they're on a slump a couple of weeks ago, and they reminded me of Derby County under Paul Warne, and yet again we are seeing that continue after a 3-1 defeat. Now, we look at Middlesbrough right now, 11 goals in their last 5. They rank 2nd away from home this season and have won their previous 2 matches against Charlton Athletic. Now, if we look at recent form, obviously Charlton 4 defeats on the bounce. Not looking good for them, let's put it that way. Middlesbrough, back-to-back wins, 6 goals in those 2 games as well. And it's going to be interesting to see how this one does progress. Now, we do have to talk about Charlton a little bit in terms of fixtures. Over the course of the weekend, there was obviously a tragedy that occurred in their game. I think they was up against Portsmouth, and it's devastating to hear what's happened. It's not the first time this has happened over the course of the last 12 months, and I send my condolences to all fans and family of the unfortunate member of the Charlton crowd. Hopefully they can rally together heading into this game, and hopefully they can pick up 3 points. Now, obviously, if we go and look at the league table, Middlesbrough have closed the gap on Coventry City to just 7 points, and Charlton Athletic sit down there in 17th with 23 points on the board. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I personally do believe Middlesbrough are going to take the win in this one. They've won 7 of their 10 games against each other, and I just can't see a way that Charlton Athletic are able to get something out of this one, but we will have to wait and see. For me, though, Charlton Athletic 1, Middlesbrough 3. We then head on to Preston North End versus Coventry. A huge game for Coventry, in my opinion, because they've dropped another game, which it's bound to happen. This is football. People are going to lose games of football. They're not going to win every single game, and that's just part and parcel. But as we head into this one, there's a lot of discussion to be had about these two sides. Obviously, Preston, 7 goals in their last 5, but haven't kept a clean sheet in their last 6. Preston and Coventry have not drawn any of their last 4 matches, which I think shows one of these two sides is coming away victorious, but which one will it be? Now, over the course of the last 5 games, Coventry have scored 11, and that is including a game where they hit a big fat donut and were unable to score against Ipswich. They've kept the most clean sheets in the competition with 7, and Brandon Thomas Asante is still leading the competition as the top goal scorer with 10, which is level with the likes of Carlton Morris. Thomas Asante certainly hasn't been putting up numbers recently, and as we look into the recent form, it's 4 wins and a defeat for Coventry, 1 win, 3 draws and a defeat for Preston. But for this one, I think we've got to be really open and honest about this. I do think Coventry obviously head in as favourites. They've been unbelievable this season. Preston have had a great start to the year. I think teams like Derby, Hull, Stoke, Preston should be given massive credit for the way they've turned around. Obviously, Derby County over the course of the last few weeks haven't quite been great, but I think over the course of the vast majority of the season, you've got to give those teams their props for the way they've come back from relegation threat in last season to real contenders for those playoff positions. Now, if we look at the games between these two sides, which is absolutely tremendous, let's not beat around the bush. Preston have won 11 of those games with 6 draws and 2 wins for Coventry. It's going to be interesting to see how this one goes, but I personally cannot see past a Coventry City victory. I'm looking at Coventry City 2, Preston North End 0, not 1, Preston North End 0. We head into Sheffield United versus Norwich, which is a huge game in terms of the league, because for me, Sheffield United are on a proper turnaround at the moment, and I think they've been absolutely excellent. And I think if I remember rightly, they're on a run of 4 back-to-back victories, which is absolutely tremendous. We saw Derby County go on a similar run earlier on in the season. Norwich City not quite hitting the levels anticipated of them, despite picking up a victory just recently. Now, if we do look at the insights, it's 13 goals in 5 games for Sheffield United. They've been absolutely tremendous. They haven't lost in their last 5 games, and they haven't lost to Norwich in their last 9 meetings. Now, as we look at Norwich City, it's 8 goals in their last 5, but they haven't kept a clean sheet in 15, and Kenny McLean has created the most chances. Now, as we mentioned, 4 wins and a draw for Sheffield United. It's 3 defeats, 1 win and 1 draw for Norwich. It's a massive change in the league table. We have to be really honest. Sheffield United just a couple of weeks ago were down here in 23rd place, but an unbeaten run of 5 games with 4 wins has got them well out of the relegation places, and they're starting to look up, and I do believe they could find themselves finishing in those playoff places come the end of the season. We look at these two sides though, it's 6 wins for Sheffield United, 3 draws and 3 wins for Norwich. For me, it's only going to go one way. Sheffield United 1, Norwich City 0. United. Now we head on into Southampton versus West Brom, which I think is going to be a very, very tough game for both teams. Southampton have been okay recently, but not necessarily picking up the results they probably desire. West Brom a very hit and miss side. I don't really know sort of how to feel about West Brom, if I'm completely honest. You look at Southampton, 16 goals in their last 5. You look at West Brom, 9 in their last 5, but haven't kept a clean sheet. Now, obviously, Southampton have been on impeccable form. It's 4 wins and 1 defeat. Matches exactly that of Coventry City, which is a hard feat to do. You look then at West Brom, it's 1 draw, 2 wins and 2 defeats. But who is going to come out on top in this one? You look at the league table, Southampton have got themselves up to 11th again. Like Sheffield United, they were languishing down in those relegation places just a couple of weeks ago. West Brom sitting down there in 16th. Obviously, it's very, very tight from literally 3rd down to realistically 22nd. There's not even 20 points between the teams. But if you go from 3rd down to West Brom, there is a 9-point gap. It's a very small gap considering the situation. Southampton 11 wins against West Brom to West Brom's 5, 3 draws in there as well. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this one shakes out. For me though, I've got a draw. Southampton 1, West Brom 1 as we head into Swansea City versus Pompey. It's going to be a huge game, this one, because both teams are in dire form. Let's not beat around the bush. Swansea City have 6 goals in their last 5. Obviously a victory up against Oxford most recently, and Portsmouth 5 goals in their last 5. Obviously their game at the weekend was postponed, unfortunately. We don't need to go into that again. And hopefully Pompey can sort of use that to their advantage as they head into this one. But as we look at the form, it's 4 defeats in a row for Swansea with 1 win. It's then 3 defeats, 1 win and 1 draw for Pompey. Who's going to come out on top though? As we look at the league table, a win for Pompey probably would take out of the relegation zone. Obviously, it does depend on what Oxford do and depends on the goal swing up against Swansea. But it's one of those for me where it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this one goes. And I think we've got to be very open and honest. Swansea haven't beat Pompey in the last 16 years, which is absolutely massive. Are Pompey going to do a job again? For me though, I've got a 1-1 result as we head then over to Watford versus Sheffield United. There's not much I need to really say about this game. Sheffield United haven't won in their last 5. Well, they haven't won in their last 12. They've been very, very poor overall. Obviously, they've got a huge situation going off behind the scenes. Obviously, move deadlines and things like that. As a Derby County fan who's been through administration, I've been there, I've felt it, I've done it. I do feel bad for Sheffield Wednesday, but at the end of the day, this is the situation. We're going to do a preferred bidder this day and it doesn't happen. We're going to do a preferred bidder that day. Again, it doesn't happen. We've got all these offers, but none of them are good enough. It is a consistent battle when you're in administration. And unfortunately, it looks like that's going to continue for a little while longer for Sheffield Wednesday. And for me, I've only got 1 result coming from this one. I don't need to look at the league table. I don't need to look at the head-to-head. For me, Watford 3, Sheffield Wednesday 0. Apologies, Sheffield Wednesday fans. I just can't see a way you get anything out of this game. Now, QPR, they host Birmingham City. Birmingham City have been in decent form recently. Obviously, have picked up a couple of defeats against Southampton and Middlesbrough. But other than that, in my opinion, they've been very, very good. Obviously, QPR have been in a decent run as well. 3 wins, 1 defeat and 1 draw. It is going to be interesting to see how this one goes for me, because you look at the league table, both teams just outside of those playoff positions. We've seen other teams get to that position. You look at Derby, you look at Wrexham were there a couple of weeks ago. Like, there's been so many teams that have got to the edge of the playoffs and just not been able to sort of take that next step, and obviously fell off the boil a little bit. But it is going to be interesting to see how this one goes though. For me, I only have 1 winner heading into this one. It doesn't quite link with the head-to-head of 10 wins for QPR, 5 for Birmingham and 5 draws. But for me, I've got Birmingham City winning this one 3-2 as they head into this game. We head on to the Wednesday night fixtures then, with Bristol City hosting Millwall. Now, Bristol City are a very good team. I like Bristol City, but they're not quite where they should be for me. And I believe that Leicester City have really turned a corner. I think the way they played on Saturday up against Derby was absolutely magnificent. Like, I'm a Derby County fan, and after the first 3 or 4 minutes, I really thought Derby had a chance in the game. 10 minutes later, I was genuinely game over. They were battering us, and I can't see anything changing as they head into this one. Leicester City, eyeing up those playoff places. Bristol City as well doing the same, but for me, I've got Leicester City taking the victory in this one. There's been no draws between these two sides, but for me, Leicester City 3, Bristol City 0. We then go on to another home game for Derby County as they host Millwall. Again, it's going to be a very, very difficult game for Derby as they head into this one. 3 defeats in their last 5. They have been very, very poor for me in this run of games. Losing David Ozo against Blackburn has had a bigger impact than I anticipated. Ibo Adams has been absolutely horrific. Got dragged at half-time against Leicester. Was poor against Middlesbrough as well. And for me, Derby County have got to look away from Ibo Adams. And that is only going to happen in the January transfer window. We've got to find a way to get through till then, but Millwall head into this one off the back of 3 back-to-back wins. You look at the league table, Millwall sit in 3rd, Derby County sit in 15th. Many would look at this game and go, Millwall are obviously the favourites, and I don't disagree, but I think Derby County are going to get a point out of this one. I think it's going to be Derby County 1, Millwall 1. I think obviously if we look back to last season, we drew 1-1 at their place. It was 1-0 to Millwall at our place in February. But I think Derby County are going to be able to come away from this one with something. I think they need to be completely honest. Otherwise, there's going to start to be severe questions on the head of John Eustace, because this is the exact same period where Derby County begun to slump last year, and hopefully that can be changed. Now, Ipswich Town host Stoke. Big game, huge game in those sort of playoff promotion contention positions. And if you look at the form, Stoke have absolutely crumbled. And Ipswich Town, they're coming. They are coming to it. 2 wins in their last 5, 2 draws and 1 defeat. Obviously, Stoke only 1 win in their last 5, 4 defeats on that as well. But if we look at the league table, Stoke still find themselves in the playoff positions. Ipswich, 5 points away from Middlesbrough. I genuinely think this is going to be a really, really important game. I think this will set the tone for Ipswich. If Ipswich win this one, I genuinely think they're going to be an automatic promotion contender. And I do think that Ipswich do win. 3-1 to Ipswich. Let me know your thoughts down below. Now we've got the final game of the week. Hull City versus Wrexham. It's going to be a huge game. And as we look at the recent form, both teams have been very, very hit and miss. It's 5 unbeaten though for Wrexham. 2 wins and 3 defeats for Hull City. How's this one going to go, I hear you ask? They're very close in the league table. It's going to be a very interesting one. I've really liked watching Hull City this year. I think Hull City will win this game. Hull City 1, Wrexham 0. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on all these predictions down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell. But I'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye, guys.